Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are doing the section today. We're actually going to do two sections. So I sent you an email on Sunday, late afternoon, that had the sections that we're going to cover this week, along with the handouts that I am going to work problems from, so that you could print them off if you wanted and work out the notes and everything on that sheet. So we're going to do 2-4 and 2-5 today. So we're going to get a little bit ahead this week of the original schedule, which is good because there's some weeks down the road that are kind of heavy, and this will lighten that load down the road a little bit for us. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do today is 2.4. Now there's only 5 problems, but they are word problems. So what I've put on the board is wording that is in these word problems. And what is that telling you to do? Is that telling me to add, subtract, multiply, or is that where I put my equal sign? So I've kind of put a little list up here that shows what that wording would tell you to do. So the first thing I have is different words that would tell you that you need to add. Okay, so increased by, added to, more than. Those all wording would tell you to add. Wording that would tell you to subtract would be less than or subtracted from. Right? Wording that would tell you to multiply two things together would be the product of. Product means you're going to multiply. Or if you see wording that says 5 times a number. Or if you see the word like tripled or doubled, that tripled would mean you need to multiply that by 3. Doubled would mean you would need to multiply by 2. And where you're going to put your equal sign, which actually is going to be the first thing that we are going to do each one of these problems. We're going to find where we're going to put our equal symbol, and then the wording that would come in front of that equal symbol will come to the left. The wording that comes after these words will go to the right of our equal symbol. That'll make more sense in just a minute. And so I'm going to let you go ahead and write that down. I have somebody that can't get in, so I'm going to send them the link real quick. The link. Okay, so now that we've got all those down, let's look at number 1. All right, number 1 says the product of 8 and a number increased by 7 is 136. So the product of 8 and a number increased by 7. So the first thing we're going to do, again, the product of 8 and a number increased by 7 is 136. So the first thing we're going to do is find where our equal symbol should go, and then we will build up either side of that equal sign. So let's look for the word that means equals. So I'm looking for one of those words that I had under the where I'm going to put the equal sign. Okay, the product of, that means I'm going to do some multiplying. Increased by, that means I'm going to do some adding. Here's my equal, is. Okay, that's where I'm going to put my equal. So just write it anywhere. And then it doesn't matter which side you work on first. Look at the right side. So everything before the is will come over here. Is. Everything behind is comes over here. And again, it doesn't matter which side you build up first. I'm going to do the behind the equal sign because all I have to do is put that 136. So is 136. So that's after the equal sign. Now, here's the more complicated side. Now, the product of 8 and a number increased by 7. So this is kind of tricky because what I'm finding the product of is 8 and a number increased by 7. So now, this right here, a number. That's going to be your X because it just says a number. It doesn't say what number. It just says a random number. That's going to be a number. So let's think about this. If I'm going to find the product of 8, that means I'm going to multiply 8 times something. What am I multiplying 8 times? A number increased by 7. What does increased by 7 mean you're going to do? You're going to add 7 to a number, right? A number increased by 7. The way you would write that is X plus 7. So I've taken care of this part. Now, here's what I'm multiplying. I'm going to have the product of 8 and this whole thing, okay? And a lot of times you can tell there's going to be some parentheses in your problem by what is contained inside these commas. Those 2 commas tell me that I'm going to probably have parentheses around what is in between those commas. Okay, that's why a number increased by 7, I'm going to put in parentheses. Again, the commas kind of tell me that. Now, how do I find the product of 8 and a number increased by 7? I need to multiply 8 times this parentheses. All you need to do is hook an 8 onto it, right? That's how you're going to multiply, or in other words, distribute. So let's look at what we have. The product of 8 times a number increased by 7, so there's a number increased by 7, is 136. Now, you'll notice that there's 2 parts to this problem, this question. The first thing it's going to ask you is the equation is blank. You're actually going to type in this equation. It wants to know what you came up with as the equation. Then after that, it wants you to solve it. Okay, so again, just like we've been doing in all the other sections, we just follow our steps. Here, I will distribute this 8 to remove those parentheses. So here I have 8 times x, which gives me 8x, right? Because when you multiply a number times a letter, it just hooks the number and letter together. Plus 8 times 7, which gives you 56. There's your equals. Drop down your 136. Again, keeping my equal sign stable. Now, remember, just like always, you're trying to isolate, get this x by itself. Remember that hooked on numbers, the numbers hooked onto the x go away very, very, very last. Right? They hold on till the end, which means I need to get rid of this plus 56 with the opposite, which is minus 56. To knock it out. So I'm left with only an 8x on this side. All right, when I do my subtraction here, I get 80. And the last step, remember how to get rid of your hooked on numbers is you divide by them. So I'm dividing by 8 to get my x equals 80 divided by 8, which gives me 10. Okay? Again, a lot of times that'll help you decide whether or not you need parentheses is if there are 2 commas with math going on inside of them. Right? Let's look at number 2. If 3 is added to 8 times the number, the result is equal to 8 more than 7 times the number. Okay, if 3 is added to 8 times a number, the result is equal to 8 more than 7 times the number. So let's first of all find where our equal sign is going to go, which is right here. The result is equal to. So again, once you find that, then all the wording that is before that comes on this side of the equal sign. All the wording that is after that goes on the other side of the equal sign. So find the wording that means equal and just go ahead and put an equal symbol down. Then build the front and the back of that equal sign. So let's see. Again, it doesn't matter even which one you do first. It just really, you're just going to do this side and this side. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Let's do the front this time. So let's see. 3 is added to, which means I'm going to add 3 to something. What am I going to add 3 to 8 times a number. I'm going to add 3 to 8 times a number. What is going to go in place of the wording a number? What do I put that I just don't know? It's what I'm solving for is that number. That's where you're going to put the x. Okay? A number is your x. So what do I need to do first? I need to do 8 times a number, which is 8 times the x. So just 8x. What are you going to do to the 8 times a number? You're going to add 3 to it. So add 3 to it. 3 added to 8 times a number. So you're done with the front side. Now we're going to build up the back side. So let's see, there's my equal sign. Behind it, I'm going to have 8 more than. So again, now I'm going to add 8 to something, right? More than means add it to it. So 8 more than 7 times the number. Again, what is the number? That's your x. So on the back side, I need to do 7 times the number and then add 8 to it, right? That's what the more than means, is add 8 to it. So 7 times the number and then add 8 to it. So 7 times the number would be 7x. 8 more than this would mean I need to add 8 to it.
I have a question on that.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead for sure.
Does it matter since it said 8 more than? Would it matter if you did 8 plus 7x?
Absolutely not. You can do 8
Okay.
plus 7x. 8 more than 7 times the number could be 7x plus 8 or 8 plus 7x. Either way, your guess. That is totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Now, this one is multiple choice. If you had to type that in, it would take what you're saying, 8 plus 7x. But this one is multiple choice. So if you put this, totally fine. But then you'd have to realize when you're looking at my multiple choice options that it doesn't have it that way. You would just have to say, oh, it doesn't have 8 plus 7x, but it has 7x plus 8, which is the same thing. Yes, absolutely, same thing. Okay, now once we come up with the equation, then we use our equation solving skills to solve it. So again, drop down your equal. Now we're at one of the equations that has x's on both sides of the equal, the front side and the back side, which means I need to cancel out my small one. And the way you cancel it out is you just do the opposite of what it is. So I'm going to cancel out the 7x. Since it's positive, I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. So now I've got 8x minus 7x, which just leaves me with 1x or x. Drop everything else down that you have. I still have a plus 3 here. Equals. Over here, I still have a plus 8. So remember, still solving for x. That's our whole goal of all of these, is getting the x by itself. The only thing that needs to go away now is that plus 3, so I will minus 3 from both sides to get rid of it. So all you're left here with is your x. Equals. Over here, 8 minus 3 just leaves you with 5. Okay? Number 3. All right, 3 says 3 less than 5 times a number is equal to 12 more than 8 times the number. Hi. Oh, is that it?
Yes.
Oh, good. I was wondering who that was. Uh-huh. All right, 3 less than 5 times a number is equal to 12 more than 8 times the number. And I guess, you know, when I was putting all those words up there that mean add, subtract, multiply, equals, I also probably should have said something about the wording a number is where you're going to put your X. Right? You're always going to put your X where it says a number or an unknown number or the number. That's where your X is going to go. So here's my equal sign. Is equal to. Let's build up the front and the back now. Let's see what's in front of the equal sign. It says 3 less than, which means I'm going to be subtracting 3, 5 times a number. So now that we're subtracting, it is important where that minus 3 is going to go. Because subtracting is not like adding. You can't do it in any order that you want, right? It doesn't matter which way you add numbers together. You're going to get the same result. But when you're subtracting, it has to go in a certain order. So let's see. What's going on here? 3 less than 5 times a number. So how do I write 5 times a number? Let's go ahead and take care of that. There's my 5 times a number. If I am 3 less than this, 3 less than 5x, that minus 3 has to come behind it. Okay, that's 3 less than 5x. Okay, on the back side, again, adding you can do in any order. 12 more than 8 times the number. So go ahead, I like to do your times before you're adding and subtracting. So go ahead and write your times, and then you can put your plus or minus around it. So let's see, my times would be 8 times the number, which would be 8x. 12 more than this 8x would just mean I need to add 12 to it. So there's your equation. Again, it wants you on this one. To write out the equation again as the first part of the answer, and then solve it. So again, here's my equal symbol. I've got x's on both sides, which means I am going to knock out my smallest one. I'm going to knock out this 5x with a minus 5x on both sides. So my 5x is gone here. There's, remember, don't forget the sign. So I'm left with a -3 on the left. On the right, I've got 8x minus 5x, which is 3x. Drop down my plus 12. Now, remember, once you just have x's on one side, this is the side I'm working on. This is the side where I'm trying to get that x to be by itself, which means I need to remove the other things that are on that side. Again, the hooked on number goes away last. So the first thing that needs to be removed is that plus 12 with a minus 12. So the plus 12 minus 12 cancels, so that's gone. All that's left on the back side of this equal sign is a 3x, so we're getting close. On the left, remember, if you're not comfortable with this, punch it in, right? I've got -3 minus 12, which is -15. To get x to be alone, I just need to divide by the 3 that's hooked on. So now the x is by itself, so there's my x equals, oops, I can't even see it. -15 divided by 3 gives me -5. All right, number 4 is a little tricky. But remember, when you are working these problems at home, your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to match my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's just going to be different numbers. Same steps, though.
We can't see the top part.
I'm sorry. If 1 is subtracted from a number, and this difference is tripled, the result is 5 more than the number. All right, the equation is blank. So again, let's find our equal sign. There's my equal. The result is, that is the same thing as saying equals. Okay? The back side looks like it's going to be a little easier than the front side, right? The wording that comes after the result is, which is just 5 more than the number, seems like that's going to be a little easier than what's going to come in front of it with all this mess. So I'm just going to I'm going to try to get this part right. 5 more than the number. What is the number? That's your x. 5 more than that would mean I need to add 5 to it. So add 5 to the x. Again, it's adding, so like you were saying earlier, could I have written 5 plus x? Yes. So let's see what all this says up here. If 1 is subtracted from a number, that means I'm going to have the number, which will be x, and subtract 1 from it, which means the -1 comes after the x. if I am subtracting 1 from a number, I need to have the -1 come after that. So there's 1 subtracted from a number. And this difference, that just means you did some subtracting. The difference is tripled. What did we say the words tripled and doubled mean? They mean you're going to multiply, and tripled means you're going to multiply by 3, right? If you are tripling something, that means you are multiplying it times 3. Now, if I just put the 3 right there, that just says 3 times a number. This says you want to triple this whole difference, not just the x, but the x minus 1, right? You're tripling the whole thing. You're not just tripling the number. You're tripling the difference of x and the number, which means you need parentheses around that. So there's your equation that you're going to now solve. So again, bring down your equal. Since you do have parentheses in this problem, you do need to remove them now. So I'm going to distribute this 3. 3 times the x gives me 3x minus 3 times the 1 gives me 3. And then I'm just going to drop this down, x plus 5. Now, let's see where we are now. I have x's on both sides. Since you have x's on both sides, you're going to want to knock out your small one. So I'm going to knock out my 1x. So I'm going to subtract x. Get rid of that. So over here, I've got 3x minus 1x, which leaves me with 2 x's. Drop down to minus 3. Here's my equal. The only thing left on the back side of the equal sign is that 5. Getting the x alone. So to knock out the minus 3, I need to add 3. So now all I have left on the front is 2x equals, on the back, I've got 8. So now the only thing you have to get rid of is the hooked on 2, which just means you'll divide by it on both sides. So when you divide both sides by 2, on the left, it cancels the 2. So you're just left with the x all alone. Equals 8 divided by 2 gives you 4. All right, the last one. All right, last problem says the U.S. Senate has 100 members. After a certain election, there were 18 more Democrats than Republicans. members of each party were there in the Senate? I'm going to kind of paraphrase. Okay, so the U.S. Senate has 100 members. After the election, there were 18 more Democrats than Republicans. How many were there of each party? So it wants to know how many Democrats and how many Republicans were there after this election. So let's think about what's going on. First of all, how many members total would there be? Well, it tells me the Senate has 100 members. There's so many Democrats and there's so many Republicans, and if you add those two parties together, they should equal 100. So let's write that down. There should be Democrats plus Republicans. However many there are of each of those should equal, when I add them together, 100, right? Now, what do I know? I know there's 18 more in this category, because those are the Democrats, and there's 18 more than there are in the Republican category. So let's see. I don't know how many are in either one. Okay? The one that I don't know anything about is the Republicans. Once I know how many Republicans there are, that means there will be 18 more Democrats than that number. Right? I don't know how many are in each party, but I know however many the Republicans have, the Democrats have 18 more than that. So I don't know anything at all about the Republicans, so I'm going to call them the X. What do I know about the Democrats compared to this unknown number? I know there's 18 more than that number in this category, right? Which means the Democrats have all of the same numbers that the Republicans have and 18 more. So you see what I've done? I've named the Republicans X because it doesn't tell me anything about those. I don't know anything about it. But I do know that the Democrats have 18 more than whatever that unknown number is. And I know that the number of Democrats added to the number of Republicans has to equal 100, right? Because Democrats and Republicans added together gives me 100. Well, look what I've done. I've created this equation that now I can solve for X. So here's my equal sign. Look at the left side of your equal sign. Look at this term and this term. Those are what you call like terms, right? And they're on the same side of the equal sign, which just means I need to put those X's together in the same basket. If there's not a number hooked on, it's an automatic 1. So I actually have 2 X's on the left. So now I have 2 X's. Bring down my plus 18 equals 100. Again, just using my equation solving skills. Now I want to get this X all alone. The hooked on 2 goes away last. So let's get rid of that plus 18 with a minus 18. So let's see, I've got a 2X left over here. Equals 100 minus 18 gives me 82. Getting X alone, so I'm going to divide by 2. So now I know that X equals 82 divided by 2, which is 41. So what does that tell me? Who is represented by plain X? The Democrats or the Republicans? Who is represented by the plain X? Here's my Democrats. Here's my Republicans. That means X is your Republicans. and X is 41. So that tells me that there are 41 Republicans. Well, what do you know about the Democrats? What do you know? You know that the Democrats have what? 18 more members than the Republicans. So I just need to add 18 to that 41. What does that give me? 59? Yeah, 59. So 41 Republicans, 59 Democrats. Let's see, does that make all of our statement true? First of all, there has to be 100 altogether. So when you add 41 and 59 together, do you get 100? We have to check that. 41 plus 59 is 100. So there's 100 members total, and 59 is 18 more than 41. So you have 18 more Democrats than Republicans. Okay? All right, now we're also going to do 2.5. Which is still some more word problems, but they are kind of like, they give you a formula and ask you to fill in for unknowns in the formula and solve them. Why do I keep losing? And I think there's only 5 of these too. Yeah, there's just 5 of these also. So we should still even finish a little bit early. All right, on number 1, which is crazy because if you have the sheet, it says find the value of the remaining variable in the formula. Use 3.14 as an approximation for pi. I do not know why it says that in this problem. You don't use the number pi, which is 3.14, unless you're dealing with circles. There are no circles anywhere. So you will not use that number anywhere. Okay, here is the formula that you're going to use. It's talking about the perimeter of a rectangle. When you're talking about a rectangle, you have 2 different dimensions. You've got a length, and then you have a width. So how long it is and how wide it is. And if it is a rectangle, that means this side is the same exact length as this side, right? Rectangles are the same on the top and bottom. Same here. The widths are the same. Your perimeter is the distance around this rectangle. If I added all of the sides together, that's what the perimeter would be. Another way I can write this formula is that the perimeter is equal to, you could either add all the sides together, or you could say, you know what? This length and this length are the same. So I can actually call that 2 times whatever the length is, because if this side is 5, this side is also 5, or 2 times one of the L's, 2 times 5 is 10. So no matter how you look at it, it's going to come up with the same thing. If I add that to these widths are the same, so I could call that, instead of W plus W, I can call it 2W. So here is the formula for the perimeter, and it actually gives you that on the paper. Then it says find the perimeter of this certain rectangle. It tells you that the length 3. So it tells you the L is 3, and it tells you the W is 2. It gives you this formula, and then it gives you this information, and it asks you to find the perimeter. So where can I put this 3? Well, that's the length, which means I can put it in place of the length. Where can I put the 2? Well, it's telling me that's what the width is. So I'm going to put it in place of the width. So let's write and see what that looks like. The perimeter is equal to 2 times the length. And it told us that the length was 3. So 2 times 3. Plus 2 times the width. Don't we know what the width is? It told me what the width is. So since the width is 2, I'll put it in that spot. Now, what is it asking me to find? It's asking me to find the perimeter, which is the P, which is actually all the way alone already, which just means I need to figure out how much this is. Let's see, 2 times 3 gives me 6, plus 2 times 2 is 4. So perimeter equals 6 plus 4, which is 10, and that's it. So again, it tells me what the perimeter is, and then it even gives me the numbers to put in the L and W spot. Okay? Number 2. All right, it says use the formula to find the values given. So let's see, this time it gives me a formula for area. It's actually area of a triangle, but it doesn't even tell you that. 1/2 base times height. And it wants to know what the area is, and it tells you that the B is 23. And the H is 18. So go ahead, before you think about anything, is go to the formula. Wherever you see this lowercase b, put a 23. Wherever you see this lowercase h, put an 18. So I don't know what A is. Didn't tell me that. I just still have the half. Now, these are all hooked onto each other, right? Which means they're going to be times. Hooked on means times. So let's see. What do I know what lowercase b is? Yeah, it's 23. Do I know what lowercase h is? Yes, it tells me it's 18. It wants to know what A is. Again, A is already all by itself, so if I can just do the math on the right, I'll be done, right? Whatever 1/2 times 23 times 18 is my answer. Now, remember, your calculator does multiplying with fractions. I can tell my if I type exactly what that says into my calculator, 1/2, open parentheses, 23, close, open parentheses, 18, close, and hit enter, my calculator is going to do 1/2 times 23 times 18. So how do I tell it to do 1/2? Okay, I think y'all have one way. Either way, if you wanted to go to the alpha, can't remember how y'all did it, but y'all know how to do it. If
Alpha
that's the way
Y.
you're used to doing it. I can't remember. Alpha, what is it?
Y equals.
Oh, that's so crazy to me.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have the calculator on my app, on my phone. Does anybody know how to do it on the phone?
Yeah,
Is it-
you should. Do you have an alpha? Hang on, I have the app. I can tell you. Let me see if it works. Hang on. Let me see if it did it. Hang on.
Oh crap, my computer was muted.
Yeah, I think it just does the same. So if you wanted to, so on the phone or the calculator, you're going to do the same thing. Do 1 divided by 2. That'll give you the 1/2.
Okay.
So 1 divided by 2, that'll give you 1/2. And then just like the board says, do your open parentheses, which is right above your 8. And then type in the 23
Heck yeah, okay.
and close. Open parentheses again, 18, and close, and hit enter.
207. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, so same thing here. Again, 1/2, open parentheses 23, close, open parentheses 18, close. So 1 divided by 2, there's your half. Open parentheses 23, close, open parentheses 18, close. Enter to get 207. All right, number 3, same kind of thing. This time the formula is a little bit more complicated, but they give us the formula and then they give us some numbers just like this one to put in certain letters spots. So let's see what the formula they give us this time is. A equals 1/2 H, open parentheses, big B plus little b, close. Now I'm going to write over here what it tells me. This time it actually gives me the A. A is 30. Capital B is 2. Lowercase b is 3. Okay? Then it says H equals what? Don't worry about what you're solving for yet. The first thing, your first move is to go replace these letters with what number they tell us those letters are. So let's see, do they tell me what A is? They do. It tells me it's 30. There's my equal. Bring down my 1/2. Does it tell me what H is? It does not. So I still have an unknown H right here. Open parentheses. Does it tell me what capital B is? It does. It's 2. Plus, does it tell me what lowercase b is? It does there also. It's 3. So I have filled in all the numbers that I know of. Then the question says H equals what? Which just means I need to get that H by itself. So let's see. Look inside these parentheses. 2 plus 3. What is that? That's just 5, isn't it? I could, since they're like terms and they're inside that parentheses, I'm going to rewrite that as just a 5, just to simplify it, right? So I'm still going to just bring everything else down. 30 equals 1/2 H times 5. So all I did was add the 2 and the 3 together, since they were like terms inside that parentheses. So I'm solving for H. Now, what are both of these things doing? The 5 is times, which means it's hooked on. The 1/2 is also hooked on, which means you're just going, how do you get rid of hooked on numbers? If you're getting H by itself, it doesn't even matter since they're both on. One's hooked onto the front and one's hooked onto the back. Doesn't matter which one you get rid of first. I'll just get rid, again, it makes no difference. If I'm trying to get this H by itself, I'm going to get rid of a hooked on 5. How do you get rid of hooked on numbers? You divide by them. If I do one side, I have to do the other. So that 5 canceled that one. I'm getting closer. Now all I have left is 1/2 H equals 30 divided by 5 gives me 6. Again, the 1/2 is hooked on, and we get rid of hooked on numbers by dividing. Divide by whatever it is. What's hooked on to this H? 1/2 is. So that's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to divide it by 1/2. So if I divided that hooked on number by whatever it is, exactly what it is, it's going to cancel it out. All that's left here is the H. So if I can do this math, I know what H equals. So again, I'm just going to put that in my calculator. 6 divided by 1/2. Now, just to be careful, I'm not sure if it'll do it or not. If you have a division problem and one of your things that you're dividing is a fraction, you type in divided by for division. You also type in divided by to create your fraction. So I'm going to put that in parentheses just to tell the bottom half of the division problem is a fraction. I'm going to do it both ways, see if it matters. So I do 6.
12.
Good. Divided by, open parentheses, 1/2. And hit enter. And y'all are right. It gives you 12. Yeah, you do have to put that bottom number in parentheses. If not, it does 6 divided by 1, then divided by 2, which is not what you want to do. You want to do 6 divided by, when you put parentheses around that 1/2, it tells your bottom part of your fraction that I need that to be 1/2 altogether as a whole number like that. All right, number 4 says the perimeter of a rectangle is 28 meters. So it tells me the perimeter is 28. The length is 2 more than 2 times the width. Find the length and the width of the rectangle. It tells you that in words, but then look, it actually draws it out and tells you there's your length and there's your width. So I'm going to draw that out and then tell you what that wording means. So the perimeter is 28. The length, which is this distance right here, is 2 more than 2 times the width. That's why the length looks like this, because that is showing mathematically 2 more than 2 times the width. I don't know anything about the width. It's just W. But whatever the width is, the length is 2 more than 2 times that distance.
Is that what it looks like on the paper?
That is what it looks like on the paper. So it gives you all the wording, but then it actually draws. So even though it gives you the wording and acts like you're going to have to come up with the length and the width dimensions on your own, it gives you the picture of it over here. Now, it wants to know, find the length and the width. So what do we know from number 1? How do you find the perimeter. The perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, right? That's what the perimeter definition is. So, what is the perimeter? Do I know what the perimeter is? It told me it's 28. Now, 2 times the length. Which one of these dimensions is the length? Even though it's got a W in it, this is the length, right? It's just relating the length to this width. But this distance, that's your length of your rectangle, right? So I can put, in place of that L, instead of writing L, the number that goes in that spot, here's my length. So 2 times 2W plus 2, right? That's 2 times the length. 2 times the length. Plus 2 times the width. So 2 times, what is representing the width? Here's my width. Let's just represent it by that W. Right? So perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And then it wants to know what the length and the width are. The only unknown letter I see is a W. So I'm going to find what that W is. So I can't do anything with 28. But I can remove these parentheses, right? I'll distribute this 2 here to get rid of those. Then I'll multiply what's inside there times that 2. So let's see what I got. When I remove these parentheses, 2 times 2W gives me 4W. Plus 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 2 times W is 2W. Right? I'm trying to get the W by itself because once I get the W by itself, I know this right there. I know what W is. So here's my equal sign. These W's are on the same side of that equal sign. So there's no reason to write them separately. You put them in the same basket. How much W do you actually have behind this equal sign? You've got 4 here and 2 here. You've actually got 6 W's. Put those together, just drop down that plus 4. Still just a 28 over here. So I'm getting closer to getting the W by itself. Only thing you have to do is make these 2 numbers go away. That hooked on number will go away fast. So I'll get rid of that plus 4 with a minus 4. So let's see, over here I have 28 minus 4, which is 24. Equals, all that's left over here now is the 6W. Getting W by itself, I just need to make that hooked on 6 go away, so I'll divide it by 6. So now I know that W equals 24 divided by 6, which is 4. That's one of the things it's asking me. The width of the rectangle is blank, while the width is represented by this W. So the width is 4. It also wants to know what the length is. What do you know about the length? Here it is right here. This is the length, right? Do I know what this letter is now? Yeah, I just found it. W is 4. Which means this W, anywhere I see a W, it's a 4. So what does that mean that this length is? Well, it's 2 times the 4 plus 2. And then do that math. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10, which means the length is 10. So it gives me these multiple choice drop down things on this. So you're going to say the width of the rectangle is 4. And then after that, it's going to give you a drop down. It's always, when you're finding perimeter, it's not ever going to be squared or cubed. You're just going to choose that M for meters, right? You don't get squared or cubed finding perimeter. So you don't have to worry about that. So same thing here. Then it's going to say the length of the rectangle is blank. That's where you would put your 10. And again, it's just M. You don't ever get M squared or M cubed when you're finding the perimeter. All right, last one. Ooh. This one's tricky. Last one though. And remember, in lab, if this section is trickier than the last section, start backwards, right? You don't have to do your homework in order. You can start in 2-5. Whichever section you think is going to be trickier for you, do that section first while we're here live. Okay, so this one's talking about a triangle. The longest side of a triangle, so I'll just say this is the longest side, is 4 inches longer than the shortest side. So here's my shortest. So I'll say that's the longest, that's the shortest, and that's the middle. So the longest side is 4 inches longer than the shortest. The medium side is 3 inches longer than the shortest. And the perimeter is 22. So again, let's read that again. Longest side is 4 inches longer than this. The medium side is 3 inches longer than this one. So it tells me what the longest and the medium are in relation to the shortest, right? It always says something about the shortest side. Now, do I know anything about the shortest side though? I don't know anything about the shortest side. I just know that if I know what this side is, the longest side is 4 inches longer and the medium side is 3 inches longer. So again, I don't know what the shortest side is. So let's call it X. What do you know about the longest? It's 4 inches more than this side, which means what can you call the longest side? X plus 4 more. What does it tell you about the medium side? It says it's 3 inches more than this side, which means the medium side is going to be whatever the short side is plus 3. Now, I know that the perimeter is always, I can just add my 3 sides together. That's what the perimeter says to do. All the sides added together. And it tells me that the perimeter is 22. It tells me that in the problem. So 22 is going to be equal to all 3 of those sides added together. So I need to add X to X plus 3 and add that to X plus 4, right? There's the short side. There's the medium side. And there's the long side. When you add all 3 sides together, it equals the perimeter, which is 22. I can clean this up a lot. Again, bring down your equal sign. I can't do anything with a 22. It's just 22. But look at all this like term stuff I can put together, right? If they're on the same side of the equal sign, you want to put like terms in the same basket, which means that X, and that X are all in the same basket. How many X's do you have over here? 1, 2, 3, right? They're all 1 X's. So I actually have 3 x's on that side. I can also put the 3 and the 4 together. They're also like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign, so they can go in the same basket. 3 and 4 is the same exact thing as just saying 7. If I get x alone, what do I know? Well, there's my x. It represents your short side. And then from there, I'll be able to find the medium and the long side. So I just need to get the x alone, like I always do. Get rid of the plus 7 with a minus 7. Let's see, what is that? 22 minus 7 gives me 15. Drop down my 3x. And divide by 3. So now I know that x equals 15 divided by 3, which is 5, which means your short side is 5, because that's what x is. Your medium side is the short side plus 3, so 5 plus 3, which gives me 8. And then your long side is whatever the short side is plus 4. So 5 plus 4, which is 9. So 5, 8, and 9. And again, so short, medium, long would be 5, 8, and 9. And again, perimeter is not ever squared. So all of these would just be inches, not inches squared. Okay? Okay, let me make sure I got everybody, and then I'll stop the recording, but stay live to answer any of your questions. All right, I've got Carrie, Maisha, Michelle, Haley, Brittany, Lauren, Kayla, Terrell. Kayla, Terrell Jackson. All right. Okay, so I've taken roll. So now y'all can go in. So on Thursday, we'll just do one section. We'll do, I think it's 2.7. And if you want the handouts, I sent them an email on Sunday afternoon. So at the beginning of the week, I will send all the handouts that I'm going to work to you in an email so that if you wanted to print them, you can print them off ahead of time. Let me stop the recording.